If you're just tuning in, you don't want to miss this roundtable on this Yale University report. Discussion this morning has been Rising Above the Wedding Ring, Educated Black Women and Singlehood. In our studio this afternoon, Ebony Reed, Deputy Metro Editor for the Detroit News, and Kimberly Hill, Political Science Lecturer. Two accomplished women here to respond to this report from Yale University that in fact talked about how educated black women are struggling to find a marriage mate, if you will. Just let me get quickly your reaction, start with Ebony, to this report. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a cliche, you know, it's not a strange report. I mean, we've known this for a long time, but I guess it just raises the ante up.
I would agree. I mean, there wasn't anything surprising, I think, in the report, particularly for, you know, professional black women. I think that they have known for a long time that there may be a limited selection for them if they're looking for a mate in the black community.
And I want to explore the socioeconomic implications of this, the black family and so forth. But Kimberly, your reaction, you were quoted in an NPR story, in fact, and you mentioned that to me at the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington. But let me just get your reaction on this program. What do you think of this report?
I think it's true. I think that, but I'm not discouraged. I think that it brings out some very interesting points, but as Ebony said, certainly not surprising. But what was interesting about the report was that it was only done, if I remember correctly, between black and white people. And
the juxtaposition.
Right. And so, you know, what I believe also should have been taken into consideration is the other races that black women may be marrying. So I think it goes beyond the race of black and white.
And I want to talk about it. I want to delve into this. You know, I think we have a considerable amount of time to delve into that, the other races that black women go to. But back to you, Ebony. If a report like this and other previous reports have documented, you know, with facts that, in fact, black women, educated black women, successful black women, you're an editor at a paper, at a major paper, finding it hard to meet a mate. I guess the question is, why is that happening?
Well, I think there are several factors, you know, at play. I mean, if we look at the state of Michigan, specifically the city of Detroit, we'll see, you know, high incarceration rates of black men, particularly between the ages of 20 and 40, which would be, you know, a marriageable population. I think we'll also see high unemployment rates. We know that the unemployment rate in the city of Detroit is around 28%. If you add in the people who've given up, you know, looking for work, you know, some analysts argue that it could be as high as near 40%. So then you have people leaving the state, which we've written about at the paper. You've got the brain drain. We also know that we've got higher mortality rates for black men. We know that women overall in all races are expected to live longer than most men, but we particularly see that pronounced in the black community. And then you look at, you know, college education rates. I was looking at some data from the U.S. Census before I came over here, the 3-year report, the American Community Survey, that looks at the last 3 years. And if we look at particularly in the city of Detroit, which is predominantly black, and we look at men, we'll see that 31,000 holds a bachelor's degree or greater for black men. And if we look at black women, we'll see that that's closer to 56,000. So, you know, we certainly have you know, differences there also on the education front. And I think all of those factors contribute to making it difficult for educated black women.
And Kimberly, may throw the question to you. You're a political science, and I know you're very active. You work for Congressman John Conyers. In this current economy, Ebony raises the envelope of the unemployment rate, and you know, people say, well, it does have a potential to affect relationships. It does have a potential to affect, in fact, marital relationships in terms of when a partner loses their job, you know, are they more likely to stay in that relationship, or, you know, does that relationship get affected by the fact that only one partner can afford, you know, to pay the bills? But as a political science lecturer, I guess, can you delve into just the socioeconomic implications here of this report? Because I think the biggest story here is the impact it has on the black family.
Well, I think it's an interesting, I've been thinking about this for a while. It's an interesting set of issues. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times I think you may not see the same problem or witness the same problem with black men. It's because black men don't necessarily need a black woman with a higher level of education, because the man is supposedly or viewed as, perceived as
Is that
as
a
the
perception
breadwinner.
or a reality?
I think sometimes it's a perception. I think sometimes it's a reality. But for black women and women in general, when you look at marriage, a lot of times you look at the man as being the breadwinner. So women have, certain issues that are sometimes inevitable. They become pregnant. What happens? They may have to, may not be able to work. And so for us, financial stability is very important, whereas with a man, it may not be as important because they are looked at a lot of times as being the breadwinner. So therefore, it would not be necessarily as important for them to have an educated woman.
Now, let me ask you this question.
Which is
because you all are very accomplished, successful, educated women who are making impact in Detroit. And now, in fact, looking at what this report has done and previous reports, do you think that that education cheats black women off time to have relationship? In terms of, do you prefer, like, for say, well, I'd rather go do my PhD instead of, trying to think about, getting into a relationship or nurture a relationship? You think that's contributed to this?
I think it has to a certain extent, and I believe that because of the historical barriers that women have had to encounter in the workplace, black women, and just women in general, but certainly black women have had to encounter or have encountered in the workplace, it has forced them to perhaps go over and beyond the call of duty. And as a result of that, they may have put relationships or romance on the back burner.
All right, let's go on a quick break on the historical analysis of black women within the context of this new report, Educated Black Women and Singlehood, Rising Above the Wedding Ring. Right after this break, we'll continue this roundtable.